Unprecedented second state visit. He has said it so many times. He's called it a fest. He has expressed just how excited he is about it. He's talked about his love for the royal family, that his love for all things British, maybe slightly less so for the government of Keir Starmer, but it is certainly the case that there has been an unlikely friendship that has blossomed between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump over the past few months. It feels like quite a long time since Keir Starmer revealed that letter from the King back in the Oval Office back in February. That was, I suppose, the trump card up front by Britain. They played their best card, the card that they believed would bring the American president in close, because it is the view of this British government that it's not just important to have him close, it's important to keep him as close as possible, because he has proved himself to be really so consequential on issues of trade, but so much more as well. I mean, from where you are in Kyiv, it's clear how much he has flip-flopped on the issue of the war in Ukraine. And so important for countries in Europe, led by the UK, the British government would say, to be able to gently, softly, or perhaps with a bit more force, pressure the US president, remind him that, yes, Europe is spending more now on defence, but they can't do it alone. They need his support and they need his hardware. They need him and they need America in Europe. So that is an element of what all this pomp and circumstance will be all about over the next day or so.
Yeah, Mark, as you say, and this is something that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is acutely aware of, that regardless of whatever blow-up he had at the White House with Donald Trump, he needs to ensure that that US support remains. And he sees Sir Keir Starmer as a strong ally. He sees him as a backer and supporter. And he said to me, I know that President Trump has great respect for King Charles. I know he has great respect for the monarchy. He has now developed a relationship, a rapport and friendship with the British Prime Minister. So I'm relying on them to be able to convey the message of Ukraine, because, of course, it will be a topic of a conversation and discussion during Donald Trump's visit to Chequers. And so Volodymyr Zelenskyy very much wants to make sure that that message is heard loud and clear. And Mark, it'll be interesting to see how Donald Trump responds and reacts, because, as you say, he has been flipping and flopping even in the last few days. He's finally described Russia as the aggressor, but at the same time pointed the finger of blame at the Europeans and said, this is your war, and you need to stop buying Russian oil and gas, and only then will I impose sanctions, tough sanctions on Russia.
Yeah, look, I think so much will be discussed, not necessarily tomorrow. That is the bit at Windsor. That's the pomp. But on Thursday, the meat of it will be discussed. And I think it's important to recognise that this isn't just pomp. There is a lot of meat that will be discussed on Thursday at Chequers with the Prime Minister. Remember, too, that it's not just the President who's here. His Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, he is here as well. Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's kind of fixer-in-chief, the Middle East envoy, but also has been so critical, so integral in America's negotiations with both Russia and Ukraine. He is here in London, too. So alongside the principals meeting, that is Starmer and Trump, there will be very, very vital sideline meetings as well taking place between Yvette Cooper, Foreign Secretary, and Marco Rubio. She met him earlier on today when he arrived from Israel. So talks there, of course, but also with Steve Witkoff, trying gently to persuade the Americans, as I say, that they cannot abandon Europe. I mean, Yalda, it's not all that long ago that we were... The language coming out of the White House made it very clear at that point that America under Trump really was looking at effectively abandoning NATO. And yet, as is his way, quite quickly, he then came back on board because NATO demonstrated that it was spending more on its own defence, the other NATO countries, that is. And so he liked that, so he came back on board. He will like the fact, for example, that Britain is supplying jets, fast jets, to Eastern Europe. It is deploying fast jets to Eastern Europe to counter this latest threat from Russia with the drones that landed in Romania. So all that sort of stuff is clearly important to the American president, but it's not enough. I think there's always an anxiety that he could flip again the other way. And so I guess, as I said a moment ago, playing this card so soon was an effective way, so Keir Starmer and the diplomats who were advising him, so they hope, of being able to flatter the president and make him, a real friend of the United Kingdom, notwithstanding all the criticism that he and more so his vice president, J.D. Vance, have had over things like free speech. And I'm sure all that will play into the next couple of days as well. So a really vitally important visit. And of course, there will be a lot of criticism of it too. We've heard of some contributors to the show a little bit earlier on describing how they think it's not necessary to do this. It's not necessary to roll out the red carpet. It's enough to be able to have these backroom diplomatic discussions. The problem is that I would argue that it's probably not enough with Trump. He needs this flattery. It kind of is what it is. And warts and all, controversy and all, Starmer's government has made a judgment, and we will discover whether that judgment's right, but has made a judgment that this is the sort of thing that is required.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark, especially with an unpredictable US president like Donald Trump. Welcome to our viewers. It's just gone 9 o'clock. You're watching The World with me, Yalda Hakim, and you're watching those live images from Stansted Airport, where Donald Trump is expected to arrive any minute now for his, as we've been saying, second state visit to the UK. The US president will spend 2 days in the country and will meet with the King, the Prince and Princess of Wales and the Prime Minister. And of course, as Mark was just saying there, he's arriving at a tricky time for Keir Starmer, whose judgment really is being questioned over his sacked US ambassador's links to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He's flying into Europe as we've seen serious escalations in the two wars he's promised to end in Gaza and in Ukraine. And I am currently in Ukraine. It's just gone 11 o'clock in the evening, where in the last 24 hours we've had an exclusive interview with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who, knowing that Donald Trump was making this much anticipated trip to the United Kingdom, wanted to send a very clear message to Donald Trump and to his European allies, in particular to Sir Keir Starmer, that as you sit down and have these conversations, I know that Ukraine will be on the agenda. You have to remember that you must be tough on Vladimir Putin. And Mark, it was quite a conversation that I had with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. He wanted to make those messages very clear, not just to the British public, to the British Prime Minister, but hoping that Donald Trump would be able to hear him too. And we're just looking at those live pictures coming in from Stansted Airport, and we can see an aircraft landing. Mark, just give us a sense of what you're seeing there, because I know that Marine One is waiting. The officials have arrived, and we're expecting Donald Trump to arrive imminently there.
Yes, and you can see here some of the dignitaries waiting for the arrival of the US president. Yvette Cooper is just behind the woman in uniform. Yvette Cooper, of course, now Foreign Secretary. To her left, behind the, to her immediate left is Lord Hood, who is what's known as the Lord-in-Waiting to the King. He will greet the president off the plane. The woman in uniform there is the Lord Lieutenant of Essex, Jennifer Tolhurst. Those two officials, alongside the member of the government, the Foreign Secretary, as I say, Yvette Cooper, and behind them you can see some airmen, some aviators from the RAF regiment who are here as well. I've also seen some US Army as well. There are two US Army Chinooks that have just landed a short time ago. They, we think, will flank Marine One as it flies from here down to Winfield House in Regent's Park. And on the left of your shot there, you can see Air Force One just on its final approach here to Stansted Airport. So the beginning of 2 days which Donald Trump certainly taken by his words on Air Force One and on the south lawn of the White House before he left. He's excited about this moment. We know how much he loves the royal family. He's talked about his love and affection for the Queen so much, the late Queen, and also for King Charles as well. So he's looking forward to this. For him, well, to use his words, this is a fest. That's how he described it in the Oval Office a few months ago. For Britain, it's about pomp, it's about circumstance, it's about a whole load of diplomacy as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And they're not holding back when it comes to the pomp and ceremony. They are pulling out every bell and whistle for this trip because for Britain, this remains an incredibly special, significant, the most important of relationships. And so they want to ensure that Donald Trump gets the treatment that he is expecting, and probably more so. Donald Trump himself said that even before he left, he said he's looking forward to meeting with the King Charles. He described him as a friend. At the time that Keir Starmer handed that letter from the King to him, he said he has great admiration and respect for the King, is very much looking forward to making that trip, that second state visit that has been afforded to Donald Trump. And Mark, we can see Air Force One has just landed there at Stansted Airport.
Yeah, just touched down here at Stansted. It will make its way now to the end of the runway, pull back round and arrive here for the dignitaries to meet the president, and from there he'll make a short walk over to Marine One and then drive down to Winfield House. Yalda, I was looking back a few moments ago at a speech that Lord Mandelson, Ambassador Peter Mandelson, that was now fired, of course, that he gave just about 10 days ago, a few days before he was fired. Now, I mean, I think clearly his views reflect the British government's views about why this visit is so important. He was at the heart of the organising for it until he was fired for those links to Jeffrey Epstein. I'll read a bit of it to you because I think it's important. He said, "We can disagree on issues, and we do, but we cannot be fair weather friends," he said, talking about America. "Not when we want to be close partners in good times and influential voices in difficult times." And he continued by saying, this has always relied on strategic depth, not just personal interaction. So in order to get that strategic depth, whoever the president is, I think the argument by Lord Mandelson and by extension by the British government is you need that personal interaction, and that can be difficult sometimes. I mean, it's clear that the political alignment, well, there is no political alignment between the government of Keir Starmer and that of Donald Trump. But the relationship, the special relationship, is so much deeper than that. You know, countless diplomats over the years have talked to me about that. It transcends different governments. It transcends different presidents. Yes, it's come under an awful lot of strain, certainly under the first presidency of Donald Trump, and also under this one, with tariffs, with his flip-flopping on Ukraine, with his position on Gaza, Ukraine. It has flip-flopped. It has come under pressure. But the special relationship that the UK holds on to so tightly, the argument by the British government is that it transcends those difficulties and that you have to build as much as you can on the relationship that you have got. And I also think, Yalda, you know, I talked to diplomats from other countries based in Washington, and they've said over the past few months how envious they are of the way that Britain has played it with President Trump. Yes, some may see it as sycophantic. I mean, honestly, the way that Prime Minister Starmer appeared to be fawning over the president in the Oval Office was for many kind of uncomfortable. But the consequence was that Britain is in a better position on trade than any other country in the world. That may not last. He's an unpredictable president, but for now, it is good. And I think what they will want to do over the course of the next 2 days and well beyond is to build on that, and that they will hope that all this pomp, that it does build on that and that it yields results.
Yeah, Mark, certainly we saw a roll call of global leaders making their way to Donald Trump after his inauguration to try and woo him. There were all sorts of things that people were suggesting, diplomats were suggesting. And as you say, many were envious of the way in which Sir Keir Starmer was able to manage this relationship. And he did have that Trump card, that knowing that Donald Trump has so much admiration for the royal family, he is going to ensure that, just like top diplomats, they are going to be pulled out and for this two-day state visit used to really woo Donald Trump and show him the kind of pomp and ceremony that he is expecting out of this trip. And it is going to be, Mark, an incredibly jam-packed itinerary. As you say, he's going to be making his way to the US ambassador's residence in central London. After he gets off Air Force One, he's going to be whisked away on Marine One. But from that point onwards, tomorrow morning, he's going to have an incredibly busy schedule.
Yeah, look, if you're a member of the public and you want to get a sight of Donald Trump in the flesh, good luck to you, because I don't think many people will. He could, of course, drive from here in Essex down to the ambassador's residence at Winfield House. He's not going to. That is in part because of security. He will instead, as we've been saying, fly down there on Marine One. Tomorrow he will fly from Winfield House to the outskirts of West London to Windsor, where that event will take place. He will stay tomorrow night in Windsor, and then once again he will fly from there up to Chequers in Buckinghamshire for the meat of the visit and the meeting with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. I have to say, Yalda, I'm standing about 100 foot now from Air Force One. It's quite an awesome sight to be so close to this hulk of a plane, such an iconic aircraft as it arrives here in the UK for what is, you know, a huge, and as Trump has said so many times, unprecedented second state visit. The door's just opening there on Air Force One. The steps will shortly be moved into position, and then in a few moments I'm sure we'll see the US President disembarking, and from the back steps the rest of the passengers, the crew, the travelling media, all disembarking now from the back of the aircraft as well. The steps just being moved into position now. This is a massive security feat, Yalda, and it's been upped even more, I think, after the death, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk over the course of the last week in the United States. Clearly, the president himself, the two assassination attempts against the US president. There is massive security. The Secret Service have been here in the UK for the past week, perhaps longer, going over everything. Our security was checked multiple times as we made our way to the tarmac here at Stansted, and that will continue over the course of the next 2 days as well, as they keep the American president safe. But as for anyone wanting a glimpse of the president, that won't happen, I don't think. Few will see that because he will be kept away from the crowds. That is partly security. It's partly to keep him away from the protesters as well. I'm interested to know how many protesters there will be. You'll remember the last time he had a state visit, there were really quite large protests. There was that blow-up blimp of Donald Trump that was floating above Parliament Square. Will that make an outing again this time? We will see.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, you just talked about what a monumental security operation this is. I mean, when the US president moves, the security detail is absolutely extraordinary. You and I saw that in full play when he went to the Middle East. We were there on the ground. And of course, to see Marine One brought here on the back of transport aircraft to the United Kingdom so he can make that journey to the US president's, US ambassador's residence. just the task, the number of people involved in ensuring that the US president is safe. But he's just landed at Stansted Airport now. The stairs, as you say, have been put in place, and any minute now we are expecting the US President Donald Trump alongside the First Lady Melania and a number of members of his cabinet who are here with him as part of what he's described as an unprecedented second state visit, which was a letter sent to him in the hands of Sir Keir Starmer many months ago, and the culmination of all of that we can now see as he has touched down, Air Force One touchdown at Stansted Airport, and the dignitaries there getting ready to greet Donald Trump.
Yes, and you know, for all the talk, Yalda, of red carpets, I'm a little surprised there isn't one here. When he arrived in the Middle East, there were red carpets, there were purple carpets, all the rest of it. I mean, you know, the Middle East is a little different from the UK, perhaps a little more gaudy than here, but no red carpet for the president here. But you can be sure that at Windsor, I think they will more than make up for that. But yeah, we can see the dignitaries taking their positions now at the base of the steps, and I'm sure that we will see the president emerging in that doorway in the next few moments.
That's right. And as you were saying, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead. No, go on.
No. I was just going to talk about the dignitaries that we are expecting there to welcome Donald Trump. He will be greeted by the US Ambassador Warren Stevens, as well as the British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, who will be there to welcome Donald Trump at the start of his second state visit to the UK. But Mark, over to you.
Yeah, and also the King's Colour Squadron from the Royal Air Force Regiment lined up here alongside the dignitaries. Representing the government is the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and then alongside her we've got Lord Hood, who is the Lord-in-Waiting to the King, and the Lord Lieutenant of Essex as well, Jennifer Tolhurst. Those are the three officials who will be the first to greet the US President as he descends the steps here. And we're seeing also, I've just seen coming out of the back steps, the most important people within Donald Trump's administration who have travelled with him here. His Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, she has arrived in the last few moments. His Director of Communications, Stephen Chung, just getting off the plane. And there is the President and the First Lady, Melania.
That's right, Mark. We can see those live images now. It's just gone about 9:20 in the evening. The US President coming down those stairs with the First Lady Melania to be greeted by, as you say, the US Ambassador Warren Stevens, as well as the British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper and the Viscount Hood, the King's Lord-in-Waiting. So you can see those images there, Donald Trump meeting with the US Ambassador as he makes this unprecedented second state visit to the United Kingdom. Much anticipated trip following Sir Keir Starmer's invitation to the US president many months ago when Donald Trump first re-entered the White House. And Sir Keir Starmer was one of the very first leaders, global leaders, to visit him and make it known that this is a special relationship that they want to continue to strengthen. So this is an important trip for the United Kingdom. Donald Trump says he's very much looking forward to the pomp and ceremony. He's expecting that. And he's very much looking forward to meeting with King Charles. Before he left Washington, he described King Charles as a friend. And he's often showed great admiration for the royal family. He's also expected to visit the tomb of the late Queen Elizabeth. But we can see him there with the First Lady, hand in hand, and being directed towards Marine One, where he will be whisked away to make a short trip to central London, where he will be spending the night at the US Ambassador's residence, Winfield House in Regent's Park, before the events of the two-day visit begin. And Mark, we were saying there that this is going to be a jam-packed trip. The royal activities will begin with formal greetings by the King and Queen Camilla, along with Prince William and Princess Catherine at Windsor Castle tomorrow. But tonight he's going to rest at the US Ambassador's residence in central London.
Yeah, and a reminder there, just as he got off the plane and walked to the helicopter, that this is a state visit. This is primarily a royal occasion. This is not government to government, although of course it is all about that. But the person who greeted him first off the plane was not Yvette Cooper. She was just after. It wasn't the Foreign Secretary, it wasn't a representative of the government. It was Lord Hood, the Lord in waiting to the King, and it was he who then escorted the President to the helicopter. So a sort of clear reminder there that this is about the royal visit. This is about this is a state visit. I thought that was interesting. What was also interesting, Yalda, was the length of time that Yvette Cooper shook the President's hand for. It must have been, it was at least 5-10 seconds. This from a woman who, not all that long ago, before she was in government, called Donald Trump inflammatory and ignorant, who had such criticism of his language over women. She, of course, a champion for women's rights, and yet felt able and keen to criticize him out of government. Now, of course, she finds herself as Foreign Secretary. The other thing I think is interesting is that when he was last here for his first state visit, she was very critical of that. She said it shouldn't have happened because Donald Trump was alienating allies, was a threat to democracy. Well, that, I think, is a very clear indication of how things have changed, because Trump, in his second presidency, has proved that if you're not close to him, if you're not in, you're out. And so that is why, that kind of gets to the heart of why this royal trip, this state visit is so important, why it's happening, because Britain has taken the view that you don't just need to be close. It is in Britain's vital interests to be as close as possible to the US president. As one senior diplomat said to me today, everything that isn't American leadership is worse. And that, I think, gets to the heart of what all this is all about.
Indeed. And Mark, we're just looking at those live images of Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump in Marine One, about to take off and head to central London. Let's just bring in our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, who is in central London for us, where we are expecting the President to arrive shortly after he takes off from Stansted Airport. And Dom, we are expecting Donald Trump to head your way, and he will be spending the night there at the US Ambassador's residence before the official proceedings begin, the royal activities tomorrow.
Yeah, he's going to be getting here probably around 20 to 30 minutes. It's that long that it should take for a helicopter to fly from Stansted to the lawns in front of Winfield House behind me. And as you can see, it's a very secluded spot. It's an enormous neo-Georgian mansion right on the edge of Regent's Park. It has the second biggest garden in London after Buckingham Palace, but actually it's very hard to get a view of it. As you can see, that's as close as we can get here. And of course, if you're trying to keep an American president, a controversial American president, away from the public eye, away from those troublesome protesters, any sign of controversy and opposition to his visit, it's a good place to bring him on his first night. So it also has a huge lawn that Marine One can land on in front of the mansion. He'll spend the first night here, and then he's off to Windsor and then off to Chequers. And as he comes here, the British government is preparing for this unprecedented second state visit. No elected leader has been given a second state visit in British royal history. Not even, if you go back to Ronald Reagan and Mrs. Thatcher back in the 80s, very, very close political bedfellows, if you like. Not even Ronald Reagan got a second visit. And that, I think, is sort of at the heart of some of the controversy around this visit. There are those who would say that it is going too far to give this president a second state visit. He had one, he shouldn't get any more, and to do so is just to be too sycophantic towards him. If you talk to veteran diplomats, they are kind of divided over the wisdom of giving him a second visit at all. Some of them saying it's a bit of a gamble, possibly even squandering the kind of royal pageantry and kind of assets that the UK has, because in the wake of his appointment and his inauguration, a whole parade of world leaders have gone through the Oval Office through the court of King Donald. He really runs the White House like a kind of medieval court, arguably, and they have paid tribute. But none of them have really had what Keir Starmer had at his disposal as he produced that letter from the King. He flourished it and handed over to President Trump, because no other European country, at least, has the kind of royal pageantry and pomp and circumstance that Britain can summon up and can muster. And obviously that's something that appeals very much to an Anglophile and someone who likes to be at the centre of attention and likes all the pomp and circumstance here, someone like Donald Trump. So that's appealed to him. But there are those, as I say, who feel that he should not have been offered this, not at least until he had shown he is worthy of it. And I think that was also the concern amongst many diplomats that I've spoken to, that he should have been offered this later on in the presidency, something he could work towards when he showed that he was worthy of it. And I think some felt that it was squandered a little too early. But I think, part of the problem here, part of the reason this is a gamble, Yalda, is also the fact that this is a capricious, unpredictable president. Even if he likes what happens here, and if we expect he will revel in it, even if it leads to more concessions in terms of trading deals with the UK that gives the UK preferential treatment compared to the Europeans, there's no guarantee he's going to stand by his words. He's ripped up trading deals with Mexico and Canada. He's not stood by allies like Qatar that was attacked by Israel, despite Donald Trump giving such full-throated support to Qatar in his Gulf tour. And there's no guarantee that Donald Trump will stand by whatever agreements he makes here. So it is a controversial visit for all those reasons, but also because he is a deeply unpopular president in the UK. Over the summer, one opinion poll said only 16% of British people actually like President Trump. So, he is unpopular, and that's one reason also he's been kept away from the public eye, as Mark was saying there. If you want to catch a glimpse of President Trump, you're not going to have any chance, really, if you're coming here outside Winfield House or going to Windsor Castle. He's been kept behind the gardens, the shrubs around Winfield House. He's been kept behind the walls around Windsor Castle. And Chequers is a very easy place as well to keep protesters away from. A controversial visit and a gamble, no doubt, but one this government believes is essential in terms of shoring up a special relationship that they believe is about a lot more than just one man, however controversial he is.
Yeah, Dom, we're just looking at live shots of Stansted Airport, and those two helicopters have taken off. Marine One is heading in your direction. As you say, it probably will take about 30 minutes or so before Donald Trump's chopper lands on the lawn there at the US ambassador's residence. And when that happens, we will be coming back to you live. But for now, Dom, thanks so much. And let me bring in our correspondent, Rhiannon Mills, who joins us live from Windsor. And Rhiannon, the royal activity really will begin tomorrow, where, of course, in Windsor, there will be a state banquet as well. And no doubt Donald Trump is really looking forward to that.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He's not stopped talking about it, has he, since he was offered that invitation back in February. Back in April, I think we all chuckled a little bit when he described it as being a second fest. I suspect there were some people in the Foreign Office and the Palace who maybe spat their tea out at that description. They probably never had it described in that way before, but he is not wrong. They are rolling out every bit of red carpet and bell and whistle they can possibly find when it comes to making sure that Donald Trump comes to the UK, and leaves the UK at the end of the week with only positive thoughts towards us. The Ministry of Defence definitely have not been coy about their description of what we're going to see tomorrow. They've already said it is the largest military ceremonial welcome for a state visit to the UK in living memory. So that is quite something to say, especially when you think we saw President Macron being wined and dined just a couple of months ago, again here in the spectacular setting of Windsor. The things that people are going to have to watch out for tomorrow, a fly past between UK and US military. That has never happened before. We're going to have the largest guard of honour ever at a state visit. Donald Trump isn't just getting some military ceremonial first thing as he arrives, he's getting another bit with a beating retreat ceremony happening later. And also a US military band is also going to be involved in those proceedings. That is the first time that has ever happened. And I think that is what is so fascinating about these state visits. Yes, they are a huge spectacle. The optics of it are wonderful. But it's what it says about our relationship with the United States. And I was told by diplomats who were around in 2019 and 2018 when Donald Trump came over before, that one of the things they really wanted to impress on him was the importance of our military and defence ties. So when we see thousands of soldiers and horses on parade yesterday, that is ultimately what they're hoping to underpin for Donald Trump. Of course, that messaging will be eased along by the fact that he will meet up with two familiar faces, with King Charles and Prince William already building up their own relationships with the president. The president has had nothing but lovely things to say about King Charles, describing him just before he left as a friend. You might remember he also met up with Prince William in Paris in November last year. There was quite a funny moment when there was a photo op when he basically described Prince William as a great guy, which means I think tomorrow we are going to, well, have a bit of a field day when it comes to the body language and the lip reading to see exactly what those interactions are all about. Of course, some people will feel uncomfortable about the fact we're rolling out the red carpet in this way. Diplomats say this is absolutely essential, and that is why tomorrow we will see the royal family out in force, really as our diplomats in chief. Yes, with the Prime Minister on their coattails to make sure the Prime Minister is happy with what he sees over the next few days.
Rhiannon, thank you so much. And of course, tomorrow we'll be coming to you for all the coverage. Well, let's take you back to live images now of Marine One, which is making its way to central London. I think we can show you that. Or perhaps we've moved on from those images, but Donald Trump is travelling on Marine One, as we just saw there, to central London. And I just want to, there we go, we can see it now from a little earlier. Marine One taking off from Stansted Airport with Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania, where they will travel to central London. A short trip, about 25-30 minutes or so, where that chopper will land on the lawns of the US ambassador's residence, where Donald Trump will be spending the night before the official proceedings begin tomorrow. The royal activity will begin, and those are the latest images. Now, we will be bringing you some words from Donald Trump in a moment, but let's bring you back here to Kiev for a moment, because, of course, I've been bringing you my exclusive conversation with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. You'll remember he said that Vladimir Putin is trying to trick the US president to avoid sanctions. He was also very clear about what he wanted to see from Mr. Trump and Keir Starmer when they meet. I just want to show you the moment I met him in his secure presidential compound. Just have a look. Mr. President, hi, good to see you again. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you. How are you?
Thank you for coming.
Of course, of course.
Thank you so much.
At a tense time, of course, yes, always for your country. Yeah. And the reason we wanted to meet at this point, of course, is because now they're hitting the heart of your city, the headquarters, the government building. Can you talk us through what happened there?
Yeah, we had a very tough night. Maybe, as always, I can say, but those nights was difficult because it was more than 800 shaheeds. Yes, I think 810, something like this. And plus we had, I think about 15 missiles, yes, especially this time at the night, and some ballistic.
What message do you think they're sending when they do that?
You know, that they want to continue the war, and that's why they postponed, you know, these meetings of decisions and about ceasefire. And it's not about ceasefire in any way. Yes, I don't know what is in their heads. It's difficult to understand, but we have to recognize that they don't want peace. It's understandable.
We then went into the nearby presidential palace, where Volodymyr Zelenskyy, speaking in his native Ukrainian, talked about Donald Trump's attempts to bring the war to an end. You talked about potential trilateral summit. Donald Trump has spoken about them. Are you ready to meet Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin without any conditions?
I'm ready. I'm ready to meet with President Trump and Putin. But I'm ready to meet without any kind of conditions.
Are you willing to go to Moscow to do that? Because that is something that Vladimir Putin has suggested.
No, of course not. Of course not. It's not conditions. It's the situation. Russia attacked us. I can't go to the country when this country, this city, Moscow, they're attacking us. So it can't be so under missiles to go to their capital. It can't be so, but we can meet in any other country.
I want to quote Donald Trump, who said, NATO's commitment to win has been far less than 100%. And the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. I'm ready to go, he means imposing sanctions, when you are. Just say when. Do you agree with him?
I believe that the US is strong enough to take decisions of their own. I believe Donald Trump can give us air defense systems in quantity, and US has enough. I'm sure US can apply enough sanctions in order to hurt the Russian economy. Plus, Donald Trump has enough force to make Putin afraid of him. Europe, in this case, should simply be in alliance with the US. And of course, it's a big help for Americans to put pressure on Putin. But we need to understand that we just can't wait for all European countries to stop relations with Russia, whether it's oil or gas. So in this, he is right. Europe should stop purchasing fuel and gas, but we shouldn't wait. I disagree with that. I think the US is strong enough on its own. And Europe, I mean, it's many different countries. It's the EU countries, other European nations outside EU, and each country has its own bureaucracy, decision-making protocols, etc. Whereas US is just one country with one vertical, system. They can make this happen quicker. Besides, Europe has already introduced 18 sanction packages against Russia. And all that's lacking now is a strong sanction package from the US.
You talked earlier there about, the Chinese, Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, meeting with Vladimir Putin, this show of strength, the shifting of the world order. You even talked about the alliances that they're building, and they showed a level of unity for the war in Ukraine, for Russia to continue its war on Ukraine. We know that President Trump has talked about ratcheting up the pressure on China, imposing 50 to 100% tariffs on China. Is it now time for Europeans to put that pressure on the Chinese?
Generally, the issue of China and India and the fuel that they're buying from Russia, some European countries have strong relations with China and others have the same with India. Therefore, some of them don't want to upset relations with India and lose money, while other European countries don't want to have China as enemy. That's exactly what's happening. And here, China is earning a lot because they're buying energy resources from Russia cheap, seeing that there is no united position in Europe against China because they all have their own interests, while President Trump wants the entire Europe to get united and put strong sanctions against both India and China. And then he will be able to make his move, take his steps. But so far, from all this, only Russians are winning.
I just want to ask you about a couple of things. Security guarantees. What's needed? Do you need European boots on the ground? And what has been agreed so far? Because some European countries are saying we're willing to send troops. Vladimir Putin is saying that's a red line, that they will, be targeted if they're there. And the Americans say unlikely to send their troops on the ground.
Regarding security guarantees, well, at least we now have on paper. They're almost ready, so that's a good advance. There are certain things that still need to be worked out, and we need to get better understanding and a clearer position of the US. We already have their commitment to support guarantees and participate, but there are still a few things that haven't been worked out yet. We have understanding regarding the number of countries. 26 countries have so far agreed to give security guarantees, both on land, on the sea, and in the air. And we have all this on paper. We see the quantity. We're still arguing, discussing this, but it's a natural dialogue among partners. Now, what's very important is to support Ukrainian army, just like Ukraine is requesting. And I'm working very, very hard on this. I'm fighting for this because it's a major contribution towards Ukrainian guarantees. And for me, it's a red line. But they're my red lines, the ones that that I impose on myself in my dialogue with my European partners. Now, the second point is the presence on the ground. Yes, we are talking about this. A lot of details have been worked out already about the presence of our partners. Agreements have been made. And as far as the US backstop, we still have to agree with. EU, part of guarantees, we have made some agreements, but some things are slowing down the process, such as Hungary, for example. All of these are important elements, and this policy, of course, makes a major difference.
President, we've seen Russian drone incursions into Polish airspace. They've also entered Romanian airspace. What message do you think Vladimir Putin is sending to the Europeans? Is he telling them, don't sell your air defenses to Ukraine because you might need them yourself?
He's testing NATO. He's want to see what NATO's ready for, what they're capable of, both diplomatically and politically, and how the local population will respond to this. The people, rank and file people, of course, just like everywhere, they're afraid of the war, they don't want to have the war, they are scared to lose their houses, their children, so it's a natural reaction. They saw the NATO's response, their reaction, and now NATO plans currently envisage strengthening the eastern border. Also, in my opinion,
Sorry to interrupt that interview with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. You can watch the full interview on our YouTube channel and online. We've interrupted it because you can see preparations there at the US ambassador's residency that Chinook there waiting for Donald Trump, and Marine One is about to land any minute now on the lawn of the US ambassador's residence. We showed you earlier the images of Stansted Airport following Donald Trump landing and touching down there alongside the First Lady Melania and a number of key members of his cabinet. He then made a short trip on Marine One to central London to the US ambassador's residence, and you're looking at those images now of Winfield House, where we're expecting Donald Trump to arrive any minute now. Let's bring in our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, who's in Regent's Park, just outside the residence, waiting for the chopper to arrive. We are expecting the US president to arrive any minute now, and I can hear that Chinook waiting there for Marine One to land.
Yeah, Yalda, to give you an idea of what we're looking at, we're looking from the terrace of Winfield House onto the huge lawn below it. I mean, it's an enormous garden. It's the second biggest garden in London, outside of Buckingham Palace. And I was on that terrace a couple of years ago, Independence Day celebrations, and at the end of that lawn, Take That was performing, to give you an idea of the kind of place we're talking about. We now have a Chinook helicopter on that lawn, and it is waiting and preparing for the arrival of Marine One. I think the Chinook now has taken off in the skies behind me, so it's taken off from the lawn of Winfield House, and it's now flying westwards over London, and we are expecting Marine One. That is the official helicopter transport of the President of America to now fly in and presumably land in the same spot. So it will have taken probably 20 to 30 minutes for Donald Trump to make his way in that helicopter from Stansted. Normally Marine One flies with a decoy, so we could see two helicopters with the Marine One insignia on them make their way over North London and then come into land. Presumably only the one carrying the President will land, and then we'll see Donald Trump come out of Marine One. We're normally used to seeing him come out of that aircraft on the lawn in front of the White House, but we'll now see him coming out onto the lawn of the American ambassador in London here at Winfield House, and he will then go into the neo-Georgian mansion that was built for an American heiress in the 30s, built in 1936, and now is the official residence of the American ambassador. A really grand building, a building that is portrayed by another stately home in Britain in the Diplomat series, if you're familiar with that. And he will be welcomed into that and spend the night there, before then going on to Windsor Castle the next day for a day of pomp and circumstance and ceremony, and then on Thursday going to Chequers, the Prime Minister's country retreat, where he will get down to the nitty-gritty of the visit, discussing trade and other important matters of geopolitics with his host, Keir Starmer.
Yeah, Dom, as you say, a jam-packed agenda, and we're waiting for the US President Donald Trump to arrive there in central London after he boarded Marine One with the First Lady, and he will be, as you say, spending the night there at the US Ambassador's residence. But just shortly before landing, he spoke to reporters on Air Force One about how much he's looking forward to this trip. Let's just have a listen.
And I think it's going to be a very big thing over there. Hello, Brian. I told him yesterday we took down the tent. That tent's been up for 3 years. I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Since 1978? Since 1970? Well, you should have told me sooner. I would have taken it down. But we got it down after you said in 24 hours it was down. And they had a lot of permits, but they weren't current. So we got it down. Enjoy get pictures today. You're gonna have the best pictures, Doug. It's going to be a beautiful event. Everyone's looking forward to it. And we'll just relax and have a good time. Country's doing well. Stock market setting all sorts of records. And I think there's never been a time like this. We had the horrible tragedy, but we're going to have to do something about that. We can't let that happen. So I'll be going to the service on Sunday. We're coming back, and then we're going, and I guess a lot of you are coming out with us. Okay? So enjoy yourselves, okay? It's great to have you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're listening there to the US President Donald Trump on board Air Force One, speaking to reporters. He told the reporters to enjoy themselves, and he's very much looking forward to this trip. He said, we're going to relax and have fun. It was quite noisy on board the aircraft, but you can just see there Marine One flying into central London, a short trip, about 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so, to the US ambassador's residence with the First Lady, and they'll spend the evening at the US ambassador's residence in central London. Let's bring back our Dominic Waghorn, who's standing by in Regent's Park waiting for Donald Trump and the First Lady to arrive. And Dom, you said there that the Chinook had left the residence, and we are we're seeing now Marine One preparing to land.
Yeah, we look at these pictures, live pictures, which are historic pictures. This is the first time that an elected leader has been invited back to the UK for a royal state visit, and Donald Trump is now enjoying the moment as he flies into the British capital ahead of 3 days of unprecedented pomp and ceremony and royal pageantry for this event that no other elected leader has ever enjoyed before. Marine One now coming in to land on the vast lawn that rolls out in front of the mansion of the American ambassador to the Court of St James. Winfield House is their mansion, and it has this huge lawn that is covered often in revellers, particularly on Independence Day celebrations. And last time I was on that lawn, Take That were playing a couple of years ago at one of those celebrations. Well, it's now got the American president coming in to land on Marine One, that familiar green liveried helicopter that we so often see the American president stepping out of as he returns from trips to the ellipse lawn in front of the White House. Well, he's now coming and has now just landed directly outside the residence of his ambassador in London, and a number of other aircraft flying around me, Yalda. Couldn't identify what those helicopters are or what they're doing exactly, but we do know that Marine One flies normally with a decoy, and another Marine One look-alike helicopter is coming into land, so can't say for sure that the American president was in the first one or the second one, but one of those aircraft he is coming into land, as I say, for at the beginning of an unprecedented second state visit here in the British capital. He will now spend the night, once he steps out of that, alights from that helicopter, and he will spend the night in the company of the American ambassador in London. He can relax after his trip across the Atlantic, and listening into what he was saying on the flight on Air Force One, that's the jumbo jet that he flew in to get here. He's focusing on the fun, isn't he? He's telling his journalists travelling with him to enjoy this. And clearly for him, this is going to be 3 days, much more about the enjoyment of the pageantry and the kind of welcome that the British are going to lay on, and only the British can really lay on like this. As Mark Stone was saying earlier, other European governments and diplomats are envious of the kind of welcome we can give the American president. It's going to be an unprecedented 3 days of pageantry. He was telling his travelling partners on Air Force One, enjoy it. And I think, as he said, as he left the White House to get on board Marine One to go to Joint Force Base Andrews, beginning his journey, he said primarily this visit is about all that. It's about seeing the King, someone he referred to as an elegant gentleman, someone he says he has a close relationship with, much more than about the geopolitics of the visit, which is what his hosts, I think, particularly Sir Keir Starmer, are hoping to focus on at the end of these 3 days. Certainly that's their hope and their ambition. But for the president sitting there inside Marine One, this is much more about, I think, enjoying the welcome he's going to get and just enjoying the fact that he's the only elected leader ever to have been given this honour.
Yeah, Dom, as you say, quite historic images we're seeing there of Marine One, which has just landed on the lawn of the US ambassador's residence, where, as you say, he will be spending the night with the US ambassador in the company of the US ambassador. And really a big moment for the British government, as well as Sir Keir Starmer, who took that letter from the King to Donald Trump at the Oval Office and presented it to him, knowing how much admiration Donald Trump has for the royal family. And as you say, he described King Charles as an elegant gentleman, a friend, and he talked in Air Force One to reporters about how much he was looking forward to this trip. He told them to enjoy themselves, that he is looking forward to having a good time and being relaxed and having fun. But this will be a jam-packed itinerary for him. He will be travelling tomorrow morning to Windsor Castle, but we can see now Donald Trump just disembarking from Marine One with the First Lady, Melania Trump. And for him, he's very much looking forward to the pomp and ceremony, Dom. He's made that quite clear.
He has, yeah, and we could just hear the engines, I think, of Marine One sort of winding down through the trees from our position outside the grounds of Winfield House. He's been greeted there by the American ambassador and spouse, and they will be welcomed to this stately home. And it's the first of 3 stately homes, if you can call Windsor Castle a stately home, that he will be hosted at. And as you say, the focus for him will be, I think, the fact that he is going to be the only elected leader to be given this privilege of a second state visit. He's someone who is an Anglophile. He describes himself as an Anglophile because of his family connections. And he's also somebody who really enjoys being at the centre of attention. He craves that kind of attention. And he enjoys pageantry. He enjoys, he's a royal fan. He's a fan not just of King Charles, who he describes as a good, close friend and an elegant gentleman, as you say, but also the whole idea of monarchy. You know, there are those who would say he actually prefers the idea of monarchy because of his penchant for strong men, for autocracy, for even authoritarian governments. He seems to have
great flight. Our fantastic ambassador, we appreciate the job he's doing. He's done really well, really well. The relationships are great, and he's been outstanding. So I want to thank him and for welcoming us. We had a good flight. A lot of people came with us. And tomorrow's going to be a very big day, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. President, it's going to be an historic day. It's going to be great. Thank you all very much. I love it. I love Turnberry. I love Aberdeen. I have a lot of things here that they warm my heart. I want to tell you, it's a very special place. Great place. Well, we're going to see him tomorrow, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and everybody respects him, and they love him. Thank you very much.
It's just coming up to 10 o'clock. We're on these live pictures of Donald Trump as he begins his second unprecedented state visit to the UK. He's landed there at Winfield House, the US ambassador's residence in London in Regent's Park.